I wanted to test my limits. Watched me, so I invited them.
get to watch
True
him.
Infidelity Story.
Safe version.
My name is Emily Johnson.
Always
and
thought
for most
her
of my
marriage
life,
to Michael was
I
built
thought I
on
knew
mutual
exactly
trust,
who I was.
patience,
I had
and
been
respect.
married to Daniel for
They had
12
been
years,
together for
and
nearly
together
10 years.
we had
and
built
during
what
that
most
time,
people around
they
us
had
would
learned
call
to
a
balance each
picture-perfect
other's
life.
differences.
We lived
Emily
in a
was
quiet
careful,
suburb
a
outside of
planner who loved
Chicago,
routine,
in a charming
while Michael
two-story
was
home with a
spontaneous,
wide front
adventurous,
porch and a
and
backyard
always
where our
searching for
children
something
loved
new
to
to
play.
add excitement
From
to
the
their
outside,
lives.
everything
It all
looked
started
solid
one
and
quiet
steady.
Saturday evening,
And for the
when
most
Emily
part,
noticed
it
Michael
was.
seemed distracted.
But deep inside me,
They had
there
invited
was always
their
a
close
voice,
friends,
a quiet
Rachel
but persistent
and David,
whisper,
for
that
dinner.
told me I wasn't
Everyone
challenging
laughed
myself
and
enough.
shared stories.
When I
But
say
Emily
limits,
could feel
I
Michael's
don't mean
gaze
physical
lingering,
limits
not in a
or reckless
romantic
adventures,
way, but as though
I
he
wasn't
studying
interested
people,
in climbing
observing
mountains
behaviors,
or skydiving,
almost as if he were trying to
Instead,
understand
I wanted
something
to test
deeper.
the limits of
She
my
brushed
emotions,
it off, my
but that
resilience,
moment stayed
and my
with her.
ability to handle
Later that
situations
night,
that
as
felt
they were washing
uncomfortable
dishes
but
together,
transformative.
Emily asked,
I wanted
"You
to
were
know
awfully
what I was
quiet
truly
tonight.
capable
Is
of when my
something
world
wrong?"
was pushed out
Michael
of balance.
smiled faintly.
Daniel, my
"Not
husband,
wrong.
is a
Just
good man,
thinking.
He's steady,
I like
dependable,
watching how
and
people
deeply
interact.
kind. It
He's the
tells me
type
a
of
lot
person
about
who
who
never
they
misses
really
a
are.
work deadline,
Emily
remembers
tilted her
everyone's
head.
birthdays,
You were
and
watching
double
me,
checks the locks
weren't
on the
you?
doors before
He
bed every
chuckled,
night.
drying his
I love
hands
him
with
for
a
those
towel.
things.
But
Always.
sometimes his
I like
predictability
seeing me
made me
through
wonder
other
what life
people's
would be
eyes.
like if I
It
welcomed
makes me
something
fall in love
completely
all over
unexpected.
again.
The
The
opportunity
opportunity
to
to
test
test
myself
myself
came
hit
when
her
our
so
close
strongly,
friends,
but
Laura
they did.
and Michael,
For the first
invited
time,
us to a
she
dinner at
realized
their
that
place.
Michael found meaning
Laura
in simply
and I had
observing
been
her,
friends since
in seeing her
college,
kindness
and she was
toward their
always the
friends,
adventurous
her
one.
laughter, and her
She had
warmth.
traveled to dozens
She
of
had always
countries,
thought love
taken
was about
jobs in
grand
cities
gestures,
where she knew no
but
one,
to him,
and
even
even
starting
starting
her
her
was
own
an act
business
of
from
love.
scratch.
Weeks
She
later,
always
Emily
encouraged me
found
to step
herself
out of
at
my
one of
comfort
Michael's
zone,
work events.
though I usually smiled
He was a
and
creative
politely
director
declined.
at a marketing
But that
firm,
evening,
and his
something
company had
felt
organized
different.
a retreat
The
in the
four of
countryside.
us were sitting in Laura's
There,
warmly
Emily
lit
was given
dining
the
room,
chance to
the
observe
sound of
Michael
laughter
in his
echoing
world,
between bites
confident,
of roasted
thoughtful,
chicken
and
and
red
passionate
wine.
about his
Laura
work.
leaned across
She
the
sat
table
in the
and
back
said,
of the room,
"Emily,
quietly
always
taking
so
in how he
careful.
led discussions
Don't you
and
ever want to
encouraged
see
his
what
team.
happens when you
For the
stop
first
being
time,
careful for
Emily
once?"
felt the same
Her
thing he had
words struck
confessed
me
to her
like a
weeks
chord
before.
I had been
She
trying to
loved
ignore.
watching him.
I looked
It
at
wasn't
Daniel,
about possession
who
or
smiled at me
jealousy,
with his
it was
calm,
about
reassuring
admiration,
eyes,
respect,
and then back at
and
Laura.
appreciation.
That was the
One
moment the
moment
whisper
stuck with her.
inside me grew
A young
louder
intern
than it had
had
ever
made a
been.
mistake during
Maybe
a
it was the
presentation,
wine,
and
maybe
Emily
it was
could
the
see the
fact that I
panic on the
trusted them,
intern's face.
or maybe it was just
Michael,
time.
instead of
But I
scolding
said,
him,
"Yes,
stepped in calmly,
I do want to test my
reframing the
limits,
mistake as a learning
and I
opportunity.
want to start right now."
Everyone slips
The
up,
room grew
he
quiet
said
for a
warmly.
moment,
What
and then
matters
Michael broke
is how
the
we grow
silence
from
with a
it.
soft laugh.
Emily felt
"What
her
did you
heart
have in
swell.
mind?"
She
he asked.
realized that what
I
Michael
didn't
had
have a
been
plan,
doing when he
but
watched
I knew
her
I
was the
wanted to
same
push
thing she
myself
was doing
into a
now,
space where I
rediscovering
wasn't in
love in a
control
new,
of every
deeper
outcome.
way.
So,
But then came
I
the
invited
test.
them into my
One
experiment.
evening, Emily
I told
discovered a
them
message
I wanted
on
to try
Michael's
something
phone.
simple but
It wasn't
challenging,
romantic,
to speak
but it
openly
was
about our
personal.
marriages,
It
our
was from
struggles,
Rachel,
and the
their
thoughts we
mutual
often
friend.
kept hidden from our
The tone was
partners.
casual but
It
a
might
bit too
sound
comfortable.
small, but
I
for
really
me,
appreciate
it was
how you always
monumental.
listen to me.
Vulnerability
You're so easy
was
to
not
talk
my
to,
strong suit.
Michael.
And
Emily
so we
felt
began.
her chest tighten.
Each of us took
Had she
turns
misjudged
sharing
their
things we had
closeness?
never said aloud.
Was Michael giving
Laura
too much of
admitted
his
she
emotional
often felt
attention
like she
to
had to
someone
keep
else?
performing strength
That
and
night,
confidence,
she couldn't
even
sleep.
when she was exhausted.
She thought back to how
Michael
Michael
shared
watched
that
her,
he sometimes
how he
felt
valued
invisible
their
in
bonds.
social
But
gatherings.
now she had to
Despite
face the
his
question,
outgoing personality,
what if his attention had
Daniel,
shifted?
my dependable
The next
husband,
morning,
Emily
Emily
confronted
confronted that
him
his
gently.
predictability made him
"Michael,
boring.
I saw
That
Rachel's
one day
message.
I might crave
Do
someone
I
with
need
more
to be
fire."
worried?" When it was
He
my
looked
turn,
stunned,
I
then
told them the
immediately
truth,
reached for
but
her
I often
hands.
felt like I was
Emily,
living life
no.
at half speed,
I promise
afraid
you.
of what would happen
I've
if
been
I stopped
listening
being
because
careful.
she's been going
I
through a
don't
hard
want to
time
just
with
exist.
David.
I said,
But if it ever
my
made
voice
you
trembling.
uncomfortable,
I
I
want
should
to
have been
see
more
how much I
mindful.
can handle.
Emily
I
studied
want
his
to know
face
who I
and saw
really am when I
sincerity.
stop holding
She
back.
realized
The
then that
conversation
relationships
went
went weren't
into
just
the
about
night,
trust,
with
but
tears,
also about
laughter,
communication
and
and
unexpected
boundaries.
revelations.
Michael wasn't
It was the
unfaithful,
most alive
but he
I
had
had
crossed
felt
a
in
line
years.
without realizing
For the
it.
first
One that
time,
made
I
Emily
wasn't
question his
curating my
priorities
words or hiding
they
behind
agreed
politeness.
to set clearer boundaries
I was
with
raw,
friends,
vulnerable,
making sure
and
their
honest.
emotional energy
And
stayed
so were
focused
they.
on each other.
That night
Emily
was
didn't
the
want
beginning of
Michael to
something
stop
new.
being kind.
Over the
but she
following
needed
weeks,
to know she
the
was
four
his
of us
first
continued
priority.
meeting.
Weeks
Sometimes
later,
for dinner,
Emily found
sometimes
herself
just
once
for
again
coffee.
watching
Each
Michael
time,
at another
we
gathering.
pushed a little deeper
But this
into
time,
uncomfortable
it felt
conversations.
different. She
Exploring
wasn't just
fears,
admiring him from
insecurities,
afar,
she
and
was
even the
watching
things
with
we
the
admired
assurance
but
that
never
their bond
admitted
had
out
grown
loud.
stronger through
It
honesty.
wasn't easy.
One evening,
There were
as they
moments I
sat on
wanted
their
to
porch,
retreat,
Emily
to
said,
go back to
"Do
my
you
safe
remember
and
when you told me you
predictable
liked
world.
watching me?"
But every
Well,
time I
now
leaned
I
into the
get it.
discomfort,
I like
discovered
watching
a
you,
new strength
too.
inside me.
Not just how
I
you are
learned
with
that
others,
testing
but
limits
how you
didn't
are with
mean
me.
destroying what
That's
I
what
had,
matters.
it meant expanding
Michael
it.
smiled,
Daniel
resting his
surprised me
hand
the
on
most.
hers. Then I
first,
guess we're
I
both
thought
lucky,
he might resist
because
or
I'll
even
never
resent
stop
this
watching
new
you,
chapter,
Emily.
But instead,
You're my favorite
he leaned
story
in with
to
me.
see unfold.
He told me
From
he
that
admired
day
my
forward,
courage and
Emily
wanted
no
to be
longer
part of the
felt
journey.
uneasy about his
That
attention.
night, as we sat on our back
she
porch
welcomed
watching
it,
the stars,
knowing that
he
what
said,
they had
"I've
was
always
not
loved you
fragile
for your
but
heart,
resilient.
Emily." They had
But
faced
seeing you
doubts,
like this, brave
confronted
and
unafraid,
and chosen
it makes
to
me
grow
love you
closer.
even more. In the
I
end,
realized
it wasn't
then that
about
my
who watched
experiment
whom.
wasn't about
It was
inviting
about
others
love
into
being
our
strong
marriage
enough
in the
to
way
endure
people might
observation,
assume.
admiration,
It was about inviting
mistakes,
honesty
and forgiveness.
vulnerability,
Their
and
story
courage
wasn't
into our
perfect,
lives.
but it was
real,
about
and
letting
real
go of
was
fear
enough.
and trusting that the people who truly loved me could handle the truth of who I was. Months later, when I look back on that first dinner, I smile at how simple it all began. 4 friends sitting around a table, daring to say the things we usually keep hidden. But those words unlocked something powerful in all of us. I'm not the same woman I was before. I still have the same home, the same husband, and the same friends. But now, I carry myself differently. I know I'm capable of facing discomfort, of pushing past the walls I built around myself. Testing my limits didn't break me. It made me whole. And for that, I will always be grateful.